on, Outside the Box Reviews. It's back. Once again, it's time for Predator Week. NECA's put out a new wave of the Predator figures, and as always, I ran out and picked them up as soon as I could. It doesn't hurt that I had some Toys R Us bucks lying around, so they were a little cheaper than normal this time. Today, we are looking at the Big Red Predator. Now, before they revealed this figure, which I believe was at Comic-Con last year, you would have said Big Red to me, I would be like, they're making a Predator based on a brand of gum? I would have been really confused. But, luckily the internet exists. I was able to go out there, find out that this guy is based off of a fan film called Batman Dead End, which is actually a really cool fan film. I would definitely suggest giving it the 10 minutes of your time to check it out. But Big Red's a pretty minor part in it, but still a cool looking character. I can understand why NECA chose to go this route, even though I'm still kind of amazed they went to fan films before they went to AVP. I know Randy over at NECA said he hates AVP, but come on. Come on. I know we're going to get them. They're coming, but just got to be a little more patient. So in the meantime, let's take a closer look at Big Red and see what's up. Now, Big Red's two main accessories right here are his katanas. He has two of them. They're both very similar in sculpt, though one is slightly longer than the other. They're pretty nice. People were saying online that they looked a little dinky and wimpy, and the real answer to that is these are scaled to a human. This is a blade that a human would carry, and now that the Predator's carrying them, they look a little tiny. Not that big of a deal. It's still nicely sculpted. I like the red accent on the handle, and overall beyond that, just a nice silver. They both do fit in the sheath right here, which is cool. I like the look of these. They work really well. And his other accessory are his hands. Now, in the package, he comes with two of these open hands. We've had these open hands forever. They're the standard ones we've gotten on a billion Predators before. And then also these standard issue closed gripping hands. So we get a pair of each. So it's nice. You can kind of have your Predator however you want them. And I kind of wish they'd done this with some of the other Predators, because I really do like it. Now, sculpt-wise, this is reused parts. And I'm not going to hark on it as bad as I do some other times, because, you know what? It works for the character, and I know it's been a debate I've actually had going on with some people on here. And basically, their point, which is a very valid point, is, isn't it always just about the reused parts? And isn't that how they made them in the studio? And isn't that how it looks in the movie? But when it comes to a toy, I can't even explain it. Sometimes I just feel a little cheated getting reused parts. But if you look at the movie, Big Red was a Predator basically made out of a Predator costume with some minor modifications and a few add-ons to it. So it really does capture the fan film spirit in a weird way, and somehow that makes me like it. I don't know. I guess you just have to give me every so often that I'll have an arbitrary scale of what I consider acceptable and cool. With the mask, we get the Jungle Hunter style mask. They did add some little medallions up here at the top that are in the film, some little details. I believe beyond that, it's pretty much the same mask. NECA said it was resculpted, but it really, really looks like the Jungle Hunter to me. I can't really see much of a difference. The paint on it, as overall on the figure, is really striking. He stands out so much among other Predators on a shelf. It's kind of crazy. That bright, bright red on him. The black kind of tiger stripes on the mask, and even the mesh of the eyes stands out a little more since they're so much darker than everything around it. It's got standard issue dreads, nothing really new here, but I also do like these dreads. NECA does a good job on these, especially looking back at that Wolf Predator and seeing how bad they used to be. These are just really well done. Like I said with the Predator line in general, these reviews, I've done so many of them. This channel began with Predator reviews. It'll probably end with Predator reviews. And NECA does so many things right that I feel like I don't give them credit for time and time again just because it would be repetitive. But definitely one thing they have mastered on these Predators. The armor is the standard P1 armor, so we got the back armor here. Ironically enough, just because it's a reuse, it does have the ports for where the gun would go on. Now, we don't have a big red colored gun, and he doesn't have one in the fan film, but theoretically, if you had an extra one lying around, you could either clamp the gray gunmetal version to it, or you could also paint one up yourself. Armor is nicely detailed as always. It's basically just red with some black kind of shading in there, which looks fine. I like the tone of red they went with. It's not too silly or cartoony. His flesh tone is also fairly bright, fairly pale, I guess you'd say, for a Predator to some extent, though not too far off of the P1 version. He has his little trophy necklace here, which we've gotten before. Now, the first thing I consider a major change-up on design is they flipped the wrist gauntlets. We have the computer on this side, and his blades on the opposite side, so they're flipped from where they normally are. Once again, it's nothing major. They just had to switch the bicep arms. You could do this on any Predator you wanted, probably, if you were careful. But it is accurate to the movie, and I think it's something they tried to do in the fan film to kind of give him a little different look, so he wasn't just a straight-up reuse of the Jungle Hunter. And they did a good job with the paint. They added in some silver detailing, which looks pretty nice on both sides. The blades are gold, which is one of the few things about this character I don't care for. It is from the film, but it really just kind of looks gaudy to me. Maybe that's just a personal taste issue, but I don't like the gold blades at all. I would have rather they be this nice silver that's going through the rest of him, but the gold just doesn't do it for me. But it is different, and he's a very colorful peacock of a Predator, so maybe he needs it. Now, one problem I have with this is that because they switched up the armor, it's pieces from different sides. So over here on his gauntlet, you can kind of see right here, there's a little hole. And then if we turn him around on the back up here, he has another little hole. Now, of course, if you had the armor correct, there would be a tube going between the two that we've had on all the Jungle Hunter style Predators. And it's kind of a bummer they didn't putty that up or something. I don't know. I don't know if it would have been more of a pain than it's worth to do, but it would have been really nice if we could have plugged up those holes. But they're not horribly noticeable. It's just a nitpicky detail. His belt is very cool. I love the look on it. It's a very ornamental, cool-looking sculpting around the front. These little pieces hanging down. This is all soft rubber and just kind of floats on his waist. As I mentioned before, he has his scabbards that look like they're tied together and they connect over here. Little buttons all the way around it. And then the actual buckling mechanism back here, which is very nice attention to detail. He has the standard back skirt we get with the P1. Standard leg armor. Now this is on the new body, the one we just got with the 2-pack, so it has the ball jointed legs with the rubberized front piece as opposed to the hard sculpted one, so that's kind of nice that we're getting that buck again. The armor's nice, the color's fairly consistent throughout, so we have the standard lower legs and all that. And then his feet kind of look way too dark coming off that huge expanse of red, but it is the way the character looks. I gotta give a lot of this to Mulligan that it is what the character looks like, and whether I have a problem with it or not, who cares? It's what somebody else designed. Articulation is dead standard. We have the ball jointed head, we have a swivel at the waist, pin socket shoulders, bend and swivel at the elbow, ball jointed wrist, ball jointed legs, which I do enjoy a lot, swivel at the upper leg, double jointed at the knee, and a ball jointed foot. These joints all seem very nice and tight. They did a good job on him. And of course, here we have Big Red with his prey, Batman. I had to do it just because it is the whole point of the fan film. It's basically Batman versus Alien versus Predator. Kind of a cool concept, I gotta admit. I know we all want to see something like that every so often. They did a comic book back in the day of it. So it was a pretty well done fan film, and I feel like I'm giving a review to the fan film just as much as I'm giving a review to this figure at sometimes here. But he does look good next to the Caped Crusader. For a quick size comparison, I'll stand up Batman, and we can see that this version here, which is the DC Collectibles Arkham City Batman, I think this is from Series 3, he's fairly well in scale with Big Red. And I think if you're looking for an easy-to-find Batman to go with your Big Red Predator, this is a pretty good one to pair him with. Obviously, it's not accurate to the movie. The one in the movie was a very low budget bat suit. It was more cloth and not all that high tech. But I think if you went with a DC Universe one, it would look a little too cartoony next to the realistic NECA Predator. So to me, this is a good enough blend of realistic and the right height, and I think they look good together as a pair. I will say this, however, I've talked a lot about the fan film and what's accurate and what's not accurate and the Batman and all that stuff. But you don't have to be a fan of the fan film to appreciate this Predator. I think he really works on his own as a cool, different piece in a Predator collection, and I'm going to recommend him. He doesn't get a super high recommend because he doesn't really correspond to anything real in the Predator universe. But he is really, really well executed, and I'm sure it didn't take a whole lot to make him. He's a basic repaint with a couple retooled sections, but he's really effective in what he is. He looks really interesting with my Predator collection just because he is so bright and so vibrant. And honestly, you can make up whatever the heck you want for him. Same with the Lost Predators in that respect, where none of them really have a defined backstory or anything like this. Big Red doesn't have much. All you can see is a clear affinity for samurai culture. So, did he emulate these? Did he look at Earth designs back in the day and decide he wanted to copy them? Was he around back during the Japanese feudal era hunting samurai? Was he the basis of Japanese mythological oni or demons or anything like that? You can kind of make up your own backstory to him, and I think it makes him really intriguing. And why is he so brightly colored when most Predators go for a muted colored palette? A lot of just interesting questions the figure raises, and I kind of like that. After getting all these movie figures, having something kind of new and fresh, I think was a good move on NECA's part for the line. Overall, I feel like this series right here is kind of a stalling point for NECA. They have the Dutch coming, and they've been pushing that Dutch so hard that this line kind of got overshadowed. Because honestly, we got 2 repaints, or 2 retools, depending on how you want to look at it, and a re-release. So I will have that other retool coming up as my next review. However, the re-release of the City Hunter Predator is a complete pass for me. I'm not picking him up. I consider what I'm going for with my collection to be a open completist mentality. I'm going to say if I have the character and they re-release him, I can pick or choose whether I'm going to pick up the character again. And they haven't added anything to the City Hunter, so I'm not going to pick him up again. Same with the Masked City Hunter with the new articulation coming with Dutch. I may get him, I may not. It depends on feeling and if I really think he's worth the investment. But speaking of completionist, I have 2 Predator figures that have not yet been reviewed. The Cloaked Jungle Hunter Predator and the Unmasked Berserker Predator from Series 2 of Predators. Now, by the time this video is airing, you guys have already voted over at my Facebook page as to which one you want to see reviewed. But as of this recording, I have no clue. But whatever one you guys chose will be coming at the very end of this Predator week. But having mentioned the poll, make sure you do check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook. I'm trying to make it more interactive and more entertaining, so give you more reasons to come check it out over there. And until next time, it's been another Outside the Box review, and come back when Predator Week continues.